Is Big E cleared and returning to the Royal Rumble? We're going to talk about that, plus so much more big news. Welcome to the Ango Show. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget we're giving away this championship belt at 100K. I want to kick things off with some very big news. AEW has launched a new video game. This time it is for mobile, and it is called AEW Rise to the Top. It was released today on Android and iOS, and it is the latest AEW mobile game to be released. Before, you guys may have remembered I made videos on General Manager, the AEW GM game, as well as the casino mobile games. Now, this is a new one, which is a very interesting take. It kind of slightly reminds me of Supercard, but it's not necessarily the same. Rise to the Top features stars such as Kenny Omega, Darby Allin, the Young Bucks, Jon Moxley, Tony Storm, Thunder Rosa, Orange Cassidy, Hangman Page, and so many more different wrestlers. The game is developed and published by Eastside Games, which is a company I have no idea who they are. But basically, the way that this game works, it's a simulation-style game. You build a roster of stars and run their promotion with your own storylines and matches. Personally, I played a little bit of it. I thought it was kind of cool. This might be something that I bring to the channel, maybe in live streams, or maybe I put it on more Ango or something like that. But there's a reason why I'm talking about this, guys. It's the same day where WWE 2K24 was officially revealed. More wrestling games are great for the wrestling industry. Yes, it is a mobile game. However, I think that's really important as well. Not only having console games, but also games for mobile, especially when you can factor in microtransactions. I know we all hate them, but the fact that they have it means they can make a lot of extra money from it. But also, it just helps get, potential new eyes on your product, right? Think about it this way. If there's a lot of downloads in the game, it's in the charts. Somebody who doesn't watch wrestling might be interested in this. Even though they don't watch wrestling, they might be interested in this. They might click and they'll be like, whoa, Chris Jericho, Sting, whoa. We got to download this. Oh, now we got to watch this, right? We got to watch AEW. That's a really good thing. You know what I mean? I don't think it's ever a bad thing when there's more titles out there for people to play. Personally speaking, I played AEW Fight Forever and WWE 2K23 yesterday, and I was bored. And I find myself going back to the classic wrestling video games more often. So the more new wrestling games there are, the more options there are for people. And I just think that's really important. We know AEW Fight Forever will continue getting support from AEW. So we'll see kind of what happens with that game. Personally speaking, I just haven't really been too thrilled with it as of late. I still think it's lacking a lot to make it fun. And the same thing could be said about WWE 2K23. So there's a whole bunch of wrestling video games coming out soon. Obviously, as they come out, I'll keep you guys updated. I'm very excited about more wrestling video games, and I hope you guys are as well. Guys, we all know that Andrade is heading back to WWE, but I thought Fightful Select dropped a very interesting report today because, there's been a lot of talk about Andrade going to WWE. When and where will we see him? I believe we see him in the Royal Rumble. I talked about this on the live stream the other day. I think we see him in the Royal Rumble, big spot with Santos Escobar. Then they start building a really big storyline there on SmackDown. However, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select dropped an interesting report stating that Andrade's original deal with AEW was only for 2 years. However, there was injury time added that extended the contract, and it ended up with him being signed through the end of this year. Last year, technically, 2023. AEW talent said that Andrade was often very open about his contract status and that his deal would be up in or at the end of 2023. Numerous talent also said that he'd mentioned that he planned to stay with AEW and was considering another contract, but at the end of this run, he told wrestlers that he was headed back to WWE. Several in AEW actually expected him to show up on WWE programming the week after he left AEW, which is interesting because we know he's headed to WWE. We know that he's written, that goodbye message to everybody on Twitter. And it sounds like Charlotte Flair was obviously a big proponent in him coming to WWE, but obviously they haven't put him on the programming. And I think that's really just a matter of two things. Charlotte got injured. Charlotte had to go through surgery. So first and foremost, before work, obviously personal life stuff does matter, especially that particular situation. So I don't blame him for being around with Charlotte. But also I think at the same time too, I think Andrade I think Andrade should be in WWE by the Royal Rumble. And I think it's a good surprise, honestly. I think we all know he's going there, but I think it's a good surprise. I think it's an exciting one. Fightful Select also noted that Charlotte Flair pushed for Andrade to return to WWE And interestingly enough, Andrade had actually pushed for Ric Flair to come into AEW. Which we all know I'm not a big fan of Ric Flair in AEW, and I'm not going to say much more than that. I'm not a big fan of it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Andrade's headed to WWE. Andrade is going to be able to do something very exciting in WWE, but it's up to WWE to present him as a bigger deal, right? And there is a little bit more confidence in Triple H booking Andrade than there was with Vince McMahon booking Andrade. I think that's very clear. If you watched Andrade in NXT, this guy was amazing. If you watch this guy in the main roster, he was amazing. The booking was not. So in my personal opinion, I'm excited to see Andrade back in the WWE, but it goes to show you that not everybody wants to go back to WWE, and he was willing to stay in AEW. Obviously, it makes a lot of sense with his wife being in WWE, but that's just kind of all there is to it. So for those who are curious as to what's going on, hopefully that gave you a little bit of clarification. But now we must move on to the main event story. Guys, WWE has announced that Big E is headed to the Bump next week with the New Day. They are all going to be reunited on WWE programming, and a lot of people are speculating this could be WWE announcing Big E going into the Royal Rumble. Now, this is all speculation, of course, but I kind of want to throw this out there because I think it is important to address this head on. No, you should definitely not announce it ahead of time. If Big E is coming back to the WWE and he is returning at the Royal Rumble, then Big E should not be announced or revealed before then. In fact, I don't think WWE should be revealing any of the people going into the Royal Rumble at all. And I know they've only had a few superstars declare that they're going to be in the Royal Rumble, but I want it to be random and unknown ahead of time, especially when you consider Big E potentially being cleared. Now, the speculation does make a lot of sense because Big E has been pretty open and honest about the fact that he's feeling a lot better, but we still don't have actual insight as to whether or not he's cleared. If Big E is cleared and Big E is able to perform in the WWE with zero issues, right? This is not something that could happen prematurely. But if Big E is cleared to wrestle and is able to come back, I will be very happy. Big E was not only one of my favorites in NXT when he was down there, but he became one of my favorites when he came to the main roster. And I will say this, and this might give me some heat with some of you, but I really love the World Heavyweight Championship title scene right now, and I understand Triple H has some plans. But if Big E is cleared and goes to the Royal Rumble, honestly, I would not be opposed to Big E winning the Royal Rumble. I would not be opposed to it whatsoever. And I know this might not be the thing that a lot of people agree with, and that is completely fine, but he is one of my favorites on television, and it's obviously been unfortunate, And look, there's a lot of pressure with him coming back if he were to win the Royal Rumble, go to WrestleMania and stuff like that, obviously coming off a serious injury. But just from a perspective of wrestling, forget about everything else, I would be amazed by him surprisingly winning the Rumble. Big E could definitely be a World Heavyweight Champion, and if he is cleared, I would like to see him in that championship picture. Whether or not he wins the belt or whatever, I don't know. I want to see the belt on him eventually, but there's a couple other guys as well. But just as a fan speaking, that would be very fun and exciting. So hopefully Big E comes back soon.